Hey out there, it's Camille for the 26th, and this week I am coming to you from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It is my spring break, and so I decided to come to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Don't ask me why, I just decided that I wanted to be here. And just so you know, I'm having a great time. Our term for this week is, we're still on F, but we're focusing on FTM as opposed to FEM. And FTM, just for anyone who does not know, is short for female to male trans. There's MTF, which is the opposite of FTM, MTF being male to female, but we're gonna go over that term later on. Today, we're going to talk about FTM representation in media. We're going to focus on three main points in media. So the first point is the fact that FTMs tend to get less representation in media than MTFs do. And the second point is I'm going to give you a few films and a couple of television shows, or one or two television shows that actually do deal with or cover FTMs. And then thirdly has to do with trans folks playing trans folks. Number one is, as said, the fact that FTMs don't get as much coverage as MTFs do. And I mean, there's a variety of reasons for that. When it comes to folks that are cis and don't understand, gender in general, there still tends to be this deal with folks who are MTF still having privilege because of that stupid fucked up view that they're still born men. Now, they're not born men, they're born women. It is their identity, that is who they are. It doesn't matter what their genitals are, but despite that fact, they still sometimes have a little bit of male privilege, and so they get more representation. For FTMs, I mean, there are shows and there are movies that cover FTMs, but not as much. There's the L word. There's a character there. The way that they covered that character's journey is not exactly great. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it also wasn't great. I mean, it's Eileen Chicken. So what do you expect? There's Boys Don't Cry. That one's pretty much a classic with Hilary Swank. There is Tomboy, which takes on children who are trans. There is, there's Albert Nobbs. Albert Nobbs is a little interesting though, because Albert Nobbs was more so about a person who felt that their primary way of being able to support themselves was to disguise themselves as a man and then live that throughout their whole lives, regardless of whether or not they actually feel on the inside and identify as being a man. It's kind of a complex movie in that way, and if anyone has any thoughts about it, I'd love to hear in the comments. There's Romeo's, that's a German film, and there is Southern Comfort, which is an American film. Three Generations. Ah, yes, that one's a new one. Three Generations that featured Dakota Fanning as the trans character, and that's a newer one. I haven't seen it yet. Definitely on my list. And actually, talking about Dakota Fanning, that brings me into the third point, which is trans characters playing trans characters. There's this whole thing where in trans movies and in television shows that have trans characters, where those characters so often are not actually played by trans folk. Now, there are plenty of trans folks out there who would be happy to play the roles that are available, and yet Hollywood seems to still think that the best thing they could do is actually just have someone who is cis play those characters. Dakota Fanning did not have to play the trans character in Three Generations. That wasn't necessary. I'm so sure that they would have been able to find someone who was trans to play that character. And I mean, does that completely invalidate the fact that the movie was made? No. Does it make it less important that, a movie about trans folks was made? No, it's still important to have those films and to have TV shows that cover different aspects of being trans and so on, because that's what we need. We need representation. The more people who hear the stories that are within the LGBTQ community, the more educated everyone is, and the less excuses people have to be bigoted, fucking assholes, basically. Because if they see it and they hear it and if they can't logically disagree with it, then if they do disagree with it, I said they're being fucking assholes and they're stupid. That representation is important. But what's also important is supporting queer artists. And there's also been like disagreements where people say that like anyone should be able to play anyone, because it's in some cases that's kind of accurate, but not in all cases. Your first thought should be towards finding someone who actually lives that truth, because they're going to be able to play it more convincingly anyway, because it's something that is integral to who they are. Please subscribe. We're trying to build our subscribers because, we're on YouTube and that's kind of like what the deal is. If you like this video, go ahead and like it. If you had any comments about anything that I said, then please comment. Please. I embrace discussion. I embrace additional learning layers. Or if you agree with me and just want to, bolster what I said, have at it. I love you for it. Literally, I couldn't ask for much more other than, subscribing. That's number one. And anyway, stay tuned for next week and have a great week. Have a great weekend and visit Albuquerque. It's kind of awesome here. The light's switching because clouds or whatever, but Albuquerque's pretty cool. So if you get a chance, do it. And that's it. All right. Peace out.